Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. OfCom has decided that it knows more about the law than the Supreme Court, and it's actually ordering broadcasters to break the law. Surely this in is of itself a crime. Surely now OfCom needs to be prosecuted. OfCom has ordered broadcasters to give airtime to claims that biological men are women, even though the Supreme Court has said, no, they're not. And this is when, and if they discuss trans issues, they have to say, well, of course, we have to even this up. And you have to say that when some mentally ill people pretend to be women, we all have to join in the pretense and pretend that they're women too, even though we all know they're not, never were, never will be. And it's all a load of utter bollocks, just like what's dangling in between their thighs. But this is a really bizarre position for OfCom, the government's own watchdog, to take over a court case and a court decision by the Supreme Court, which even the government begrudgingly has to accept, although hasn't acted on yet. I might do that story later. But a letter issued to the regulator, a letter was issued by the regulator to the TV series, stations even, says that the matter cannot be considered closed. Who the hell is OfCom to decide what the law is? The law is the law. The Supreme Court has decided, and it hasn't changed the law. The law existed. All the Supreme Court did was clarify it. Men are men, women are women, and if you're a man, you cannot pretend to be you can pretend to be a woman, but not in law. You're not a woman in reality. You're not a woman in law. You're not a woman for the purposes of going into a female toilet. And you are certainly not a woman in my mind or the mind of anyone else who happens to be sane. Now, even Starmer had to come out and actually order the hospitals, because the hospitals were also going, oh, no, we can't be having this. He had to order the hospitals to say, you can't put men in women's wards and that there are single-sex toilets. Because what is it with the authorities in this country, the establishment, that they don't want to admit biological reality? What is going on? Anyway, it means now that OfCom are inciting the breaking of the law. That in itself is a crime. And I think that certainly some of these women's groups now ought to take OfCom to court to try them and get them to be wrong in the eyes of the law. And then whoever runs OfCom can go to jail, as far as I'm concerned. These people are actually encouraging the abuse of women and girls, the rape of women and girls. That's what they're doing. They're encouraging the sexual abuse of women and girls. It's weird, isn't it? And it's not my figures, but I'm going to tell you now that you are 12 times more likely to be in prison, for those prisoners, you're 12 times more likely to be in prison for a sex crime if you're trans than if you're not. LGB is attraction. Everything after that on that thing, the TQ plus whatever, is a mental illness. And far higher position of paedophilia in the TQ plus bit. And yet the authorities are bending over backwards to pander to pervs, predators and paedophiles. Makes you wonder why, doesn't it? Apart from the fact that we all know that the government's absolutely riddled with them, especially the Labour Party. The left is riddled with this sort of stuff. Just have to look at Harriet Harman. It's been going on a long time, hasn't it? And there we go. The blob has spoken. And the blob says, no, we have to continue with this mental illness and protect those that would harm children. Good luck. Bye.